What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another acid-techno smasher, and this is one of those like, wait, what? I haven't reacted to that sort of moments. We're going to listen to a tune by Chris and Sterling, aka Chris Liberator and Sterling Moss, a devastating duo who solidly for over about a decade or so just produced track after track after track of brain-shattering acid techno. I feel like they've maybe collaborated a little bit less in recent years, maybe in part because Chris has been spending a lot of time collaborating with Sam DFL, the engineer of the Stay Up Forever Studios. But again, in terms of prolific acid techno catalogs of the last 15 years or so, I think few are in greater numbers than Chris and Sterling, and a lot of their tracks are just absolutely untouchable, and this is one of them, which is why I'm so surprised I haven't reacted to it. I went through my YouTube studio and I searched, but nope, I've not reacted to this. So maybe I reacted to it on my old channel for a couple months before I had to create a new channel, which is a long story which I've repeated in many different videos, so I won't carry on here. But yes, there were some techno and trance reactions on that channel that eventually, once I moved over to this channel or started a new one, I said, you know what, I'm just going to redo that rather than posting the old one on this channel. So maybe that was the case. Nevertheless, this is from 2013. It's on Hive, which is one of the Stay Up Forever sublabels. And I noticed in the production credit, it said it was produced or engineered at Fastlane Studios in Japan, which I believe is KN Studio. KN, he produced tracks, techno and acid techno, for quite a while, though I don't think I've seen anything new from him in recent years, so maybe he's on hiatus, or maybe he just, focuses on other production or mastering, maybe, like Laurie, who still will produce a track every now and then, but mostly is mastering tunes these days. But yeah, big shout out to KN as well, and it seems like his studio was used for the creation of these tracks. But yeah, Halloweird, it is as insane as Halloween, but not so much weird. It's more like, Hallow crazy, Hallow insane. And yeah, I don't know the essence of the title. Maybe it came from some specific reference. Maybe it was the name of a party around the time of Halloween. I'm not sure, but it's an absolute stormer. It just has this serious, energetic, like wicked sort of sound. I did a mix, which I believe is on YouTube, called Basket Case Junkie, which has samples from the 3rd season of True Detective. And so, like, as often happens when I use a track in a particular mix and I use a particular sample in one of the spots on the track that didn't have a sample originally, it sort of becomes imprinted on my brain, so I think of that mix when I think of this tune. But I've used it in sets going back way before the Basket Case Junkie mix. Say that 3 times fast. So anyway, this has been a great tune for like 12 years now. It'll be a great tune 100 years from now, and as you can see, I do have 2 copies of the record, which I tend to do when I'm very, very fond of a track, just in case something happens to one of the copies. But here we go. This is Chris Liberator and Sterling Moss, Halloweird, on Hive number 7 from 2013. Maybe 45? It's one of those tracks that just ignites. A quick intro for us DJs, and then look out. double kick back in. Techno beat buzzing around. And it does the same thing. It lulls you to sleep, and then it just fires off again. That double tap coming back. Deeper and growling afterlife. If you're a DJ like me, you're probably already out of the track, but I do always appreciate a little bit longer intro and outro to give you options. What are you doing? I mean, it's just... It's perfect. It's one of those tracks where, like, I really wouldn't change anything, which, you know, even though I've never been a producer proper, I've been lucky enough to see behind the curtain in a couple cases. Big shout out to Bad Boy Pete, but as a DJ, over a long period of time, you do develop opinions about the way tracks are put together, and again, I can make that distinction between what is helpful for a DJ and what is put together as a piece of sonic art, meaning I can listen to a track as both just an acid-techno aficionado, but also as an acid-techno DJ. And sometimes there is a difference between what I think is perfect just as a listener versus what's perfect maybe for a DJ, although often I think they correspond. But yes, I mean, it's a quick intro. It gives you enough. I think it's like a 64 before it ignites, but it's enough to get the beat matched and to start transitioning. And then again, if you're someone like me, right when the bass line is about to go out of an old track, or I do a kill switch move, is right when I would throw it over to Halloweird here when it kicks off. Because when it kicks off, again, only a couple measures in, it's already on fire. It's not one of those like slow burn tracks that takes a while to get going. It's just instantly this massive conflagration of acid techno insanity. I love the different layers of the acid work. There's that deep like rumbling layer, like growling kind of layer, but then there's the higher layer that keeps doing those like sharp flares, little accents up in the air. I like that techno bee like buzzing away. Indeed, it's sort of a mix of like wicked acid sounds with like a techno buzzing sort of layer, which predominates in that longer breakdown. And I say longer, it's not really a long breakdown at all, and it doesn't give you that traditional build up with snare rolls. It sort of sucks the like energy out of the track for a little bit. It goes into a little bit of a breakdown, and then you feel the tension rising, and boom, it just goes up to 1,000 degrees again. I also really do love that like quick like mini breakdown about a third into the track or a quarter into the track when it's already kicked off a little bit, it's going, and then it pulls the kick drum out for the most part, although it sort of keeps the time, it keeps the rhythm, and then it halts and does that like double tap kick drum and drops back in. I really do love that moment, and indeed, as I was talking about at the beginning, it makes me think of putting some samples in that spot, and the sample that I put in that spot is Basket Case, or in the mix, Basket Case Junkie, is the line where the guy says like, who am I? Like, I'm just a basket case junkie. I can't tell night from day. Which, you have to like see the show to get it. But now, again, that moment always makes me think of that sample. So it's just funny how this track is now 12 years old. Like, where does time go? I remember when it came out and there was like a lot of people talking about it, and I reviewed it on Discogs because it was one of those where like, no, like I have to say something about this. Flash forward about 10 years or so, and I now have a platform where I can talk about things more directly and verbally and sort of, listen to them with people. So big shout out to all the folks who check out these acid techno reactions, as well as all my reactions more generally. Shout out to Chris and Sterling. I'll keep saying it, their catalog and their remixes over, like a 10, 12-year period, they're just untouchable. And by and large, a lot of it is acid techno. I know they've made some tunes in like the, let's say, more warehouse subgenre where it's not so much acid techno, just more like straight away like squat techno, warehouse techno, which some of that I can get with. I've said it many times before, like for me acid techno is like the real essence of what I want to hear in techno. So if you take the 303 out of it, if you take acid sounds out of it, it might still catch my ear, but it has to be, it's a rarer tune that will catch my ear, whereas if you put some acid in it, by and large, I'm going to be interested, and sure, some are better than others, and Chris and Sterling's are always near the cream of the crop, but yeah, ultimately, I'm more interested in their acid techno output, which I think is the majority of the tracks they've done together. So again, shout out to both Chris and Sterling, real name James, and yeah, it's just a bombing tune. The track on the other side is a geezer tune, and it's rare when a geezer track isn't my favorite on a record, because I've said it before, I'll say it again, if I really had to put my money where my mouth is in terms of like just the producer who has been the most consistently awesome and maybe a contender for my favorite, it's probably Guy. It's probably Guy in his geezer alias specifically, although I do love the Jaw Scoop stuff immensely. But yeah, this is one case where actually his tune is like second best. Betty's Allotment, which is the track on the other side, it's good, I like it, it's enjoyable. But to me, this release is all about Halloweird. That's why I have 2 copies of it. So shout out to Chris and Sterling. Shout out to the Hive sublabel still going today. Shout out to Stay Up Forever. the main label, which of course is the godfather of acid-techno. Why are you being so difficult? But yeah, let me know what you think of this one. And Luca, the mischievous cat, and I will see you next time. Peace.